What's up, y'all? We're back with another episode of I Ain't Want Nothing Really podcast. Of course, I'm the host, the lady in charge, Amanda, and it is 1:27 a.m. on February 4th, 2021. Now, February is a big month for me. My birthday is in 16 days. I will be turning 26 years old. But we're going to keep that between you and me. If anybody asks, I'm turning 19. Okay? Okay. But yeah, it's February. Valentine's Day is coming up. I know everybody probably got big plans coming. February. What else is February? Black History Month. My favorite month. I'm very happy I'm born in Black History Month. A lot of Black history. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Berry Gordy. You know what? And people don't want to admit to this, but Suge Knight is Black history too, okay? Because he's a black man. He owned a big time company that generated millions of dollars, but it all folded after the death of Tupac. Nonetheless, he's Black history too. So don't take that away. You can't take that away from Suge Knight. Sadly, the poor guy is sitting in a California men's prison, but he's Black history. Keep your head up, Suge. Keep your head up, brother. Before I get started with this episode, I do want to send my condolences out to our greats. This is the title of the episode, Our Greats. We have lost two great prominent figures in the entertainment business. First, rest in peace to Miss Cicely Tyson, who passed away about probably 2 weeks ago. She was 96 years old. Very, very iconic actress, beautiful spirit. If you're born a little later and probably in the early 2000s, you probably remember her and being in Tyler Perry's family reunion movie. If you're a little older, you probably remember her being in other popular movies from the 60s, 70s, 80s. And she lived a great life. I mean, passed away at 96, and she put out a book. So hopefully I will get my hands on that book and I'll do a book review for you all. Very iconic woman. Very, very iconic. Also, I want to send a rest in peace out to Larry King. Larry King. I grew up watching Larry King. I never listened to him. Back in the day, he used to do radio in Washington, D.C., I think, before he came to CNN. I grew up with Larry King. I remember when I was a kid, I watched CNN at my grandmother's house, and he would interview any and everybody. I remember he used to interview like Janet Jackson, LaToya Jackson, Jackson family members, of course, presidents. I mean, people who are like murderers and stuff. And, you know, we don't want to admit this in the podcasting world, but Larry King, how does this saying go? Larry King walked for us to run, and us as in podcasters and broadcasters of today. It doesn't matter if you're on the radio. It doesn't matter if you do your podcast through YouTube and we watch you, just like me or anyone. Joe Budden. Um, who else? Joe Budden. Big Boy. Just a lot of people. We all looked up to him and we loved him, and sadly he lost his battle due to sepsis, and people were spreading the word that he died due to corona, but he beat corona and died due to sepsis infection. But my prayers, condolences go out to both families, iconic figures, and they will go down forever in history. Now, I've been in the house, just chilling, watching TV. Two big movies came out. The first movie I watched was the Salt and Pepper movie. Now, Salt and Pepper came out in the 80s. I was born in the mid-90s. So by the time I was born, Salt and Pepper, they had like songs like Shoop and What a Man and all that stuff. But they were a big act in the 80s. Now, in my opinion, the movie was kind of cheesy in certain parts because you know, of course it's Lifetime, and they have like cheap a cheap budget, and some of the costumes looked great, some of them did not. Some of the wigs that the actresses wore for Salt and Pepper were not like the best. Well, I'm in the 80s, that part. But when it got to the 90s, things got a little better costume wise, wig wise. I also learned a few things about the personal lives of Salt and Pepper. Obviously, if you were born in the as the 80s or 90s, you know that Peppa and Tretch was together. I don't I don't remember them being together. They got married in like 1999, and then they got a divorce in like 2001. But I didn't know like Tretch could be like angry. I didn't know he would get angry like that. When I was growing up, Naughty by Nature and OPP and stuff was like a thing of the past. But Tretch, in my eyes, was always an actor. He was in movies. He always played like this cool dude. But in the movie, how he was portrayed as an alcoholic. He was portrayed as angry and, you know, just all that jazz. And I didn't understand the breakup of Salt and Pepper. I understood that, like, Salt, she went to church, she found the Lord, and she called Pep out of the blue and said, I don't want to do this anymore. Now, these women go way back, like 20 years. So, you are just going to throw your friend away of 20 years? You didn't want to do it anymore? But if you called your friend and said you didn't want to do it anymore, why did you do the remix to Stomp with Kirk Franklin and rap? That's what I want to know. But overall, the Salt and Pepper movie was cheesy, but it was uh, an okay watch. It was 3 hours long. Unfortunately, I couldn't watch the original airing, but I DVR'd it, so it didn't take me 3 hours. I fast forward through like maybe 2.5 hours worth of um, commercials. But I do want to get into the Wendy Williams movie. Now that I was looking forward to. I'm from Chicago, so I never really listened to Wendy on the radio. I knew who Wendy was because they brought the Wendy Williams Experience on VH1. I was probably like in middle school when that came out. So that was my introduction to like Charlemagne, Wendy, how she did her radio show. And then um, about 2 years later, I was a freshman in high school. They brought Wendy Williams to TV, and I would watch Wendy on, I think it was Fox. I think she came to WFLD here. I don't remember, but it was an exciting watch for me. I mean, every day after school in my freshman year, I would come home and just watch Wendy Williams. It was so fun. This movie was pretty good, even though it didn't really focus on Wendy's like entire life. The breakdown of it was this maybe first 20 minutes was her childhood, and then her, early days radio in Washington, D.C. and New York. Then about 30 minutes cover her time when she dominated New York radio. But majority of the movie was about her marriage to Kevin or Calvin or whatever he wants to be called. Which was pretty sad. Of course, no woman wants to be cheated on, and I think Kevin was really a jackass for what he did to Wendy, cheating on her. And what really broke my heart is like some people didn't make that connection. I would listen to other reviews and stuff of the movie, but people didn't make the connection that Kevin got another woman pregnant. Wrong, wrong, right? Wrong. But then the side girl gave birth to a baby girl, and that's the same gender of the baby that Wendy lost. Now, I'm not a Wendy fan as much as I used to be when I was coming up in middle school because Wendy can do some things to be messy. But I sympathize with her because she lost her babies. I lost a baby myself. So I understand like the pain and stuff. And I commend her for, her strength in getting through that. Sometimes I do think about things like that for myself, and I get a little sad. Mine happened very early, so I never really experienced like a full term. Like I never, but I was a mom, so I understand. Um, but Wendy's movie really did not get a lot of like praise. I mean, for like normal broadcasters, normal podcasts, they praised it, but some people didn't like it. I remember a scene in the movie where she was dating Eric B from Eric B and Rakim, and she put a rental car on her credit card for him. Now, I was in a relationship for 3 years with my guy, and I've never rented a car for him. Like, I don't know the process, but I think that renting a car for somebody is a little bit too heavy. And she rented a car for him, and make a long story short, pretty much it went missing, and they had a warrant out for Wendy. Brought it out. He brought it back, and just all that jazz. I don't want to ruin too much for the movie for those who didn't see it, but 50 Cent, Sir Petty 50 Cent himself, he posted a picture of Eric B next to, I think, a Rolls Royce, like a vintage Rolls Royce, and he was like, "Damn, I need a rental." Oh man, that made me laugh so hard. And Eric B, he took the joke too, and he posted it and said, "This is funny, but there's a different truth to it." But other than the bigger news headline that has been going on with Wendy Williams, is that Method Man's wife, Mrs. Smith, I don't want to call her, I don't know her first name. I don't want to call her like out of anything that's like, I don't want to call her the wrong name, basically. But Mrs. Smith, she basically said Wendy Williams is an ugly person and there's no plastic surgery that can fix how ugly she is. Because there was a story, or she told the story, of how she slept with Method Man one night. And this was back in the day, like this was like probably the early Wu-Tang days. But, Wendy, some things you gotta take to the grave. This man is married. He has children, and his children is born into a time where anything is accessible. His children might have smartphones, computers, tablets, all that stuff, so they could see this too. So, in my opinion, Wendy, you should have just kept that to yourself. But on the other hand, like, Wendy is a legend, so she has every right to tell her story. And will she ever return to radio? That's what I ask myself a lot, because we're so known for Wendy being on TV now. Like, there's a new generation of listeners or watchers who doesn't know Wendy Williams used to be on hip hop radio. Wendy Williams was one of the people who gave Charlemagne the God like the shine he has now. I mean, will she or won't she? It's completely up to her. And also, what shocked me was that Kathy Hughes, the lady who like oversees TV One Media and all that stuff, she gave her first child, which that is pretty amazing to know. And yeah, so if you guys have not checked it out, it's on Lifetime. I'm sure Lifetime will run it every 5 minutes, or it's on demand, or it's probably still in your DVR, but definitely check that out. As we all know, it's still coronavirus, still quarantine, still stay-at-home orders being put into place. So I've been spending my quarantine. I picked up a couple reads, very interesting reads. The first book I picked up was Issa Rae's Awkward Black Girl. Now, I am a fan of Insecure, and I was introduced to Issa Rae in the most unorthodox way. I knew about Insecure, but I never really paid a lot of attention to it. Nothing against it. It was just, I had my other shows I like to watch, and I really didn't pay attention to like HBO original programming. The last probably HBO show I watched was Entourage, but I had to binge watch that, and it was okay. So I never paid attention to anything else that HBO put out. But then we got HBO Max in my house, and my mom, she watched the first episode, and she didn't enjoy it. So she said, this is something your generation would enjoy. I think you should watch it. So one night, I turned on Insecure. I watched the first episode, and I was hooked ever since. I mean, it took me like 3 days to finish watching it, so I enjoyed it. And she wrote a book, Issa Rae. It's called The Awkward Black Girl, and it's about a lot of things she went through as a child. She's from Potomac, Maryland. Well, she was born in LA. She lived in Potomac, moved to Senegal. Oh, I'm sorry. She was born in LA. She moved to Senegal at a young age. Then she moved to the States. She lived in Potomac. Um, and then she moved to Los Angeles. Now, I've never been to Potomac, but the way she described it in the book, that Potomac was very upscale, a lot of white people. I think this is what before the time, we see on Real Housewives of Potomac, we see a lot of successful black women. So she was living in Potomac. She didn't have a lot of, I guess, exposure to black culture. She didn't know who Tupac was. She didn't understand all of that. And then she moved to Los Angeles, where she had kind of like a awakening, if I can say that. And the book I read, as I read the book, I kind of related to her more in a way. I grew up in a predominantly black town, but back in the day, the town I live in was not always predominantly black. Um, this town had a very huge Polish and, I guess, Italian population. Everyone started moving away. Either they moved to the city or they moved to the border. Indiana is like literally down the street, so everyone moved to Indiana for like a better life or whatever. But I was not really exposed to a lot of black things. I mean, my parents are black, but there's some things I was not allowed to watch or anything. Like BET was not a serious thing in my house until I got like a little older and I started hanging around like my older cousins and stuff, and they were into like B2K and I don't know, the other singer guys, Omarion and all that stuff. Uh, it's another true story. I did not know what like a link card was until I was like in high school, and my mom had to like sit down and explain this to me. So it was just things I was not familiar with. So I always made that connection that, I was that awkward black girl in school. But by the time I got to high school, I outgrew it. I mean, I started dating and I started, learning about different cultures and learning about hip hop. And my love for hip hop grew immensely when I was in high school. I started studying Tupac. I started studying a lot of the West Coast rappers. And I was a huge fan of Cleo Thomas. And if you don't know who Cleo Thomas was or is, he's very well. He was an actor on Holes and other movies like Holes. He was on the Bernie Mac show. He did Badass. He did another movie with like Cuba Gooding Jr. And at one point, he was a rapper who had this fan club called Team Cleo, and I was part of Team Cleo, and I made a lot of friends in this. I guess I can call it fan group. I'm not sure if it still exists to this day, but I did make some friends that I'm still in constant contact with to this day. Whatever Cleo is doing, I hope he's doing well. But Cleo Thomas actually introduced me to a lot more West Coast artists because he lived in Los Angeles, like literally his whole life. And he was the person that introduced me to DJ Quick. And the first DJ Quick song I heard was Nobody, because he used to have these things on Ustream and he used to play that song a lot. And if you don't know what a Ustream is what Instagram Live is today. Basically, someone would go live and just, get in front of the camera, and you would have like your comments on the side of the screen. And, you just responded. I went on Ustream Live once. It was okay. I don't really remember it, but it was nothing like what Instagram Live is now. So, so Cleo Thomas, he introduced me to a lot of the West Coast, and then my love for it just grew, and when I turned 17, my mom just really stopped caring what type of albums I bought. So I started buying everybody. I started listening to Wu-Tang. I started listening to Tupac. I started listening to like Outkast. But I've always been a fan of Outkast. I just never really studied their like catalog. So I learned about Aquemini, ATLiens. I sat down and I had an understanding of Speakerbox and The Love Below. Just everything. And just doing that throughout from maybe like sophomore year of high school to like senior year going into college, I did all of that, and learning that type of music kind of shaped me. And I think reading Awkward Black Girl, I think Issa did the same thing as well. And she opened up about dating and, the type of black that there is in the world, and hair, and it just everything. And I really enjoyed it. I look at this as the book I always needed and didn't realize it until I have a copy in my hand. So kudos to you, Issa. Thank you so much for writing this book. And the second book I picked up was the Daz Dillinger book. Daz Dillinger, if you don't know who that is, he is a member of the Dog Pound Gangsters. He's one of my favorites. And he wrote a book basically telling stories of death row. Again, West Coast rap is my favorite, so of course I had to get this. It's a thick book, very thick, and it was a one-day read, just like Big Boy said in an interview that he said what he did with him and Corrupt. The reason why it's a one-day read is because there's a lot of pictures in it, a lot of old pictures of him and Snoop and his family, and it was just small stories of the time before they got signed to death row, the time that they met Dr. Dre, and it was just a beautiful thing. I do cherish it. It is autographed. It's not personally autographed, but it has autographs, and it has Daz and Corrupt's autograph. So I loved that book, and I put it on the shelf, but I'll read it again later. So thank you, Daz. And he's also putting out a new one. It's called The Spizot, and I'm going to do some plug and promo for him right now. It's a trailer for him on YouTube. The book is coming out soon, and he also said that there's going to be more, death row stories, and I cannot wait for that because, of course, there's a lot of Death Row Records fans, so we want to know like the full story. We want to know like from the time everyone sat down, got with Harry-O, who is out of jail again. Welcome home, Harry-O, to the time of now. And I guess now that they're rebranding Death Row, because I follow them on Instagram, so they're putting out like bump boxes. I see like Daz and Corrupt doing like promo stuff, so I really can't wait to see what the future has for Death Row, and whatever they're selling, I'm buying because I'm a fan. Okay, everyone's favorite couple right now is Sweetie and Quavo, and I read an interesting story of how Sweetie knew that Quavo loved her when he gave her the last piece of chicken. I thought that was the sweetest, most funniest thing. But our guys, they show that they love us in weird ways. So for them, it was a piece of chicken. For me, when I was with Smith, that's his name. We'll call him Smith. When I was with Smith, I knew he loved me by letting me eat fries from his Popeyes, or he would offer me a piece of chicken from his Popeyes. So men, y'all have a weird way of showing that to your woman that you love them. But I honestly thought that this story was cute. I think they're a cute couple. I hope that, they last a while. Maybe it'll be one of those couples we just sit back and we watch. To us black folks, that'll be like watching Victoria and David Beckham or something. I don't know. We'll see. And what is a podcast without a touch of politics? Now, we all are a little relieved that, Biden is in office, and to my surprise, he is taking care of business. I'm so proud of you, President Biden. So, I know I'm always late on these podcasts and when I record them, but I want to reflect on the first week that he was sworn in, and he didn't play. Like, I looked up and he was signing off executive orders. One of the orders was that he was going to freeze college debt. Now, I know everyone is probably in Instagram comments under the story that he needs to cancel them. He needs to cancel them. Slow your roll. I think that him freezing the college debt, of people making payments towards their student loans, I think that's a start. So let's slow down on that. I think this way will work if he does freeze them. People can probably put some money to the side, stack up, stack up, stack up, and probably make like bigger payments towards college debt. But I understand at the same time that there's interest rates and stuff. The thing is, I can't really speak too much on it because I don't have college debt myself. I did what, a lot of people kind of would like cringe at. I went to junior college, so I had bonds put to the side, and as you know, savings bonds, they do appreciate over time. My grandmother, when I was a baby, she gave me and my brother savings bonds, and 18 years they appreciated, and my brother's 18 years they appreciated. But the thing is, my brother went to a university, so he used his in all in one setting. My bonds were able to expand from uh, maybe my first 2.5 semesters of college. So I don't know how the student loan thing works. So, but my suggestion was just, save some money, try to make like big payments. It could get it down. And also, I hear that he's trying to do a $10,000 assist. That's a good one. I know a lot of people have as low as probably like 40 to 50,000, 20,000. But I also know people who have like over 100,000. And my question is like, what type of degree or what did y'all study to have over $100,000 in college debt? Was it a doctor's? Was it a PhD? Like, what was it? And I'm just curious. I'm not trying to be like a smart aleck or anything, but just tell me what it is. You can just hit me up on Instagram. Let me know. Educate me. This is a podcast where I might talk about, ratchet stuff, but educate me sometimes. Also, the second thing he did was he reversed the transgender rule in the military. I think Trump put out some sort of ban on transgenders. My take on that is if you want to serve, no matter what you are, and if you want to serve your country, serve your country. I don't think what you identify as should make a really big deal. So I'm glad he put the reverse on that. He stopped funding for private prisons. Now that I'm not too educated on it because I really don't know anybody who went to prison, but I hear that that's a bad one too. And also, of course, the thing he, started with throughout his whole campaign, even when he did his debates, the push for COVID relief. He's pushing for this $1.9 trillion bill, which will help out everybody, boost unemployment. It will help small businesses. It will help just basically anybody in need. He also made it a federal rule for masks to be worn on public transportation, any federal building, as well as any other public building, which I think is a great rule. But at the same time, we still got to deal with them Karens who don't want to, follow the rules or whatever. And I'm sure, don't they make masks for people, like special masks for people who has breathing problems? And I have a question, why isn't the little kids not allowed to, don't have to wear masks? Because at the same time, I hear about stories about little kids getting diagnosed with COVID. I even heard a couple cases of young children dying. So I think everybody should wear a mask, in that way it could really, really, really slow the spread. All right, so we have finished another episode, and I think this one is going to be a little bit further than 30 minutes. That makes me so happy. So y'all probably won't be out there thinking I'm half-ass doing it. Nope. I'm just trying to find more things to talk about. I know me being away for 2 weeks it's easy, but it's really not. It's really not. But before I go, I do want to let you all know that I did set up a Instagram page for the podcast. You can follow my personal Instagram at adashmariesonofthom, adashmariesonofthom, and I pretty much post everything about my life. I post everything about the books you can purchase on Amazon, but you can also follow the official IG of the podcast, I Ain't Want Nothing Really podcast. You could put that all together. IAINTWANTNOTHINREALLYPODCAST. Again, that is the official Instagram page of the podcast. You can follow the page. I'll show you pictures of probably behind the scenes. Also, the books I will be doing reviews on. And I will also be posting my personal books, so you can just go on Amazon and look them up. And also, I will be doing the Q&A on this page, so hopefully I will get a chance to sit and do that soon. Again, I'll just, put up a post, or I'll do like the Instagram questions thing. You can ask any question you want. And hopefully either I'll answer it on Instagram, or I'll bring the questions to the podcast and I'll answer them right on here for you. Just let me know what you want to do. So thank y'all for listening. It's 2:00 in the morning. I gotta go to bed because I have a day of doing absolutely nothing tomorrow. So see you guys later. Bye.